Our next speaker is representative of a tiny country which has done no harm to anybody but has done a lot of harm and given tremendous revolutionary fraternal support to people fighting for their liberation, for their health, for their education, for their eyesight and everything. And I refer here to the heroic Socialist Republic of Cuba, which has for 60 years held aloft the banner of Marxism, Leninism, and of national liberation in Latin America. Cuba and its leadership is a living example of the fact that small people, provided they are determined and provided they have the support of their own populations, can defeat the mightiest imperialist power. After 5 decades of blockade and having no diplomatic relations with Cuba, the mighty United States has been forced to open its embassy in Cuba and allow the Cuban flag to fly from the American soil and have diplomatic representatives of each other exchanged, and are now beginning to emerge. Not quite, because the blockade is still there. For the moment, we only have diplomatic relations. The US Congress has to put an end to the blockade. Now, it's really trying to find out the difference between Hitler and Himmler. You don't know whether it's White House that is more reactionary or the Congress. And between the two of them, they make a pretty good potent mix. And so let's hope that the common sense and pressure from the American people among pressure from elsewhere would force the US Congress to do away the blockade that has tried to strangle Cuba. Cuba cannot be strangled anymore. And in this context, I'm very pleased to call Comrade Jorge Luis Garcia.
Well, first of all, allow me to thank Comrade Harper for those work that encourage our Cuban people. And thanks the party for the support that has been given to Cuban people and to our struggle for so many years, like support for the freedom of the Cuban Five, who finally returned last December to our homeland because of, in a way, the solidarity movement of all over the world, in particular here, and the support of the party like the Communist Britain Party, Marxist-Leninism. I also want to take the opportunity to give an upgrade of current situation about my country, because as Comrade Harper said, the blockade is still in full implementation. Even that the Western media has spread the idea that everything is over, but it's not. So we are continuing there fighting and saying and showing that the morality of the blockade is still damages our people. And we are recently in 27th of October, for 24 occasions, it was passed United Nations resolution against the blockade. It was almost unanimous, because 195 countries voted supporting the resolution against the blockade. Just US and Israel were in favor. We are doing this because we need to defeat the blockade in order to keep our revolution. Keep our revolution is a way to feeding the spirit of the October Revolution. So it's a way we as working people, as part of the government that rules a country of working people, we have to continue feeding the spirit of the October Revolution, and we are keeping dealing with those Western force against the internationalism, against the working people. Recently, a couple of years ago, we commemorate the so-called Operation Operación Carlota. Operación Carlota is the name that we Cubans gave to the internationalism that our troops went to Angola and fight against the racism against the South Africa at that time, and contribute to the liberation of Angola and Namibia. So it's in the way that we can continue to honoring the October Revolution. That's why I ask you to continue giving support of us, because we had to defeat the blockade against Cuba, and we had to talk about compensation because of the damages of the blockade that have been suffering my people, and we have to ask, to demand the return of the territory of the naval base in Guantanamo. So many thanks.
Not so long ago, about a year ago, John Kerry and President Obama made a statement that in the 21st century, it is not permitted to grab other people's territories by force. Obviously, there are people who can't see under their nose. You don't have to stand very far from Miami to see Guantanamo Bay, that you are not only actually committing the violation of other people's territory, even the forced treaty that granted a lease to the Americans over Cuba expired long while ago. So they have actually no legal basis whatever for staying in the United States, if there ever was a legal basis. First, the Cuban-American War of 1898 itself was a rigged war, but we won't go into that history. Now is not the time. And what's more egregious is that the holy territory of the Socialist Republic of Cuba should be used by American imperialism for the purpose of torturing, incarcerating, waterboarding, sleep deprivation of people who've been picked up from in all parts of the world, especially Afghanistan, and brought there. Most of them have been actually cleared for release, and there are still over 140 people who are in that jail, despite Obama's promise when he became president that he'll close Guantanamo Bay. I'm sure the last speech he will make is that it is still his intention to close Guantanamo Bay. But it will be a promise, like all imperialist promises, which is honored in breach. There are a lot of people who've been released. Some of them are not very pleasant characters, but they were unpleasant characters created by the Americans. They've been to Syria to wage jihad against the Syrian regime. They come and gone, some of them, but that's not my purpose. My purpose is they should never, ever have been in Guantanamo. America has no right to detain these people. If it has any charges against them, let it bring them to the U.S. courts. Let the U.S. courts try them for the crimes they are alleged to have committed. So there must be something wrong. You have no proof of anything, and you're simply keeping people there. 13 years you're keeping there, and there's no charge against them. And I think I would like, at this meeting, to raise a voice against the continued occupation of Guantanamo by U.S. imperialism, and we demand that U.S. We demand that U.S. imperialism vacate Guantanamo. It has no business to be there. America is a large country. It's almost a subcontinent. Hasn't it got a little space where it can start its own torture chambers there? Let the American people see. Why take your unpleasant affairs to other people's lands? I am told by my comrades that one of our young comrades, Robert Amos, has got a poem to recite. Can I ask him please to come and do that?